Hello and welcome to the Ask Dr. Shani channel. I have the pleasure of being here today with my big sister, Kanika Collins Sharp. Woo!
Thank you for having
This
me.
is my biological sister, my actual sister, Kanika, who is a Tougaloo College graduate. She is a mother of three to three beautiful children, my nieces and nephew, Sydney, Reginald, and Layla. She is married to Reginald Sharp, who is an HBCU coach, also an HBCU graduate. Kanika has over 20 years of collegiate level teaching experience, and she is a woman of faith, a woman of Christ. She's an awesome person, and I'm so happy to have her here. She's a little bit nervous, and so we are trying to we talk all day. We always say to each other, we do stream yards all day. We need to start recording these things and actually put this on the platform. So this is what we are doing today. And today our topic is HBCU Excellence. So we will be discussing HBCU Excellence, what that means, talking about the culture, as we are two HBCU graduates. And just to give you a little bit about this channel, the Ask Dr. Shani channel. On this channel, I'm Dr. Shani Collins Woods. I'm an assistant professor of social work. I'm an author and HBCU graduate, woman of faith. And on this channel, we talk about success, self-care, faith, and spirituality, and healthy relationships. And so this is going to be a part of our success series, but also you can find this video on Kanika's platform by following her at officially Kanika. So Kanika, how do you feel?
Nervous, but I'm excited to be here.
Don't be nervous. It's going to be good. I'm happy that you are here and that we are able to actually put this into motion, what we've been saying,
Right.
we are, have been talking about. And so, hey, let's get it going. So there's our little banner. I was trying to get that pulled up. So Kanika, let's start with the question that everyone wants to know. This channel is primarily geared toward women, but all people are welcome to look at these videos and definitely follow you on your channel, officially Kanika. So let's talk about HBCUs. I'm assuming that most people have some knowledge of HBCUs, but just to give a rundown on HBCUs were started at post-slavery, right? Freedmen Bureau helped to establish historically Black colleges and universities. Many people think that HBCUs are schools that are founded by African Americans, but that's actually not true. There are probably about two schools with Morris Brown and Bethune-Cookman that were actually started by African Americans, but most HBCUs were started post-slavery because those who were formerly enslaved had no means of getting a formal education, right? And so to give those who were formerly enslaved Africans an opportunity to become educated, HBCUs were started. Many of them are all across the country. A large number of our HBCUs are in southern states. We both attended Tougaloo College. Many of our family members attended Tougaloo College. So, Kanika, what motivated you to attend an HBCU?
Well, for me, Shani, and thank you for having me. I'm excited, especially about this topic. But for me, it was a blessing in disguise. I went to Tougaloo College on a basketball scholarship, and I was excited about the opportunity. I had a couple of other options. A couple of junior colleges, maybe another HBCU, Mississippi Valley State University. That was an option, not on the basketball scholarship, but just to attend. Yeah, right. And it's in our hometown of Greenwood,
Mississippi Delta.
Yeah, the Mississippi Delta. So that was an option. So when I found out about Tougaloo College and the opportunity that came about with that decision, I thought I made the right decision, and I'm glad I went there. It was exciting.
Yeah, it was exciting. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, girl, for me growing up, I did not want to go to Tougaloo. I'm going to tell you that right now. Because we, in our family, my sister and I, we have so many relatives who had gone to Tougaloo. So it started off really, and when you think about it, it's a blessing coming from small town, rural America, where we're from, the Mississippi Delta, the deep South. Not many Black families were able to send their children to college, first of all, but also Tougaloo College is a private college, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that goes to show you that was a blessing for our family. So in our family, my mother is one of 11, and a majority, she as well as most of her siblings are HBCU graduates.
Right.
So we had our Uncle Solomon attend Tougaloo, Uncle Joe attended Tougaloo. Who else? Aunt Dot attended Tougaloo. Aunt Alice attended Tougaloo. Uncle Henry attended Tougaloo. Then you have Aunt Ruth attended Tougaloo. And then you have Uncle Robert, who attended Valley. Who else? Uncle Cassie attended Valley. Mom attended Valley. Aunt Joyce attended and graduated from Valley. So we have HBCU is in our family. We're deep. Like it's in our DNA. We are deep HBCU graduates. So I was trying to go to USM because let me tell you why. I would come, and I remember in our English classes in high school, I would look across the classroom, and some of my classmates would be coming in talking about the parties they had gone to on the weekend. So I was trying to go party. Not knowing that Tougaloo College had Brownlee, baby. And baby, just because it's private does not mean you were not able to party. I had some of the best party experiences at Tougaloo. I wish I could take it back to my freshman year sometimes. Lord, I'm saved. But thank you, Mama.
But we had fun, and we went in there hyped and ready to go because we knew it would be a great experience, and came out sweating because it was a matchbox, and we were packed in there. If we had green, what is it called, Brownlee at this time during COVID, everybody be sick. But
if there was Brownlee around, and this time during this pandemic, everybody would have COVID-19. But those were some of the. But my motivation was like, I ain't trying to go to college. I ain't thinking about no academics. I want to go party because I'm hearing this conversation from my high school classmates. And I remember Mom. It was like the summer, and I was just kind of like, I'm not going. I want to apply. And she sat on the couch, and Dad was like over in the living room. I was like, oh, what's this conversation about? And she was like, listen. Me and my money are going to black school, so going to. And, I remember Uncle Solomon, because our uncles and stuff always come to our house, and I think I was talking about USM. He was like, what? I just remember him saying, so for us, it was kind of like, you're going. And then our cousins, Kai is a Tougaloo graduate. Khadijah recently graduated from Tougaloo. Our other cousin, Nataki, is a Spelman College. Clark Atlanta, Nia, Joe Valley. So everybody's just graduating from Tougaloo Valley into all these different HBCUs. But it's a blessing to be able to attend. And not only did we have that great opportunity for me to dance and have fun, but academic. So talk about that, Nika. What was your academic experience like going to an HBCU?
It was great, actually. I enjoyed it. For myself, I needed a smaller classroom setting, and it really worked out for me. Because, I was able to really have a one-on-one personal relationship with my professors, actually with my mentors, Miss Williams, and even to this day, I keep in contact with her because she's the one who really gave me the ideas about being, teaching on the collegiate level,
Right. Because Norma Williams, who's also a soror.
Yeah, right. She's a very good mentor and example of how successful you can be, teaching on a collegiate level in my area, more specifically. Yeah. Yeah.
You spoke so highly of her, and you spoke so highly of her because we are 3-4 years apart. So my sister and I were actually in college at the same time. So it's almost like when she was graduating high school, I was going into high school as a freshman. And so when Kanika was graduating college, I was coming in as a freshman. But Kanika at Tougaloo College was an education major. So you guys did that. You did that 5th year so that you can come out and be certified to teach, which is a great thing. Yeah. And so we did have that opportunity to go to school together. I'm so glad we went to college together my freshman year, because I had woo-hoo-hoo. But I'm glad you were there. But I would just say, in terms of that, you mentioned how Miss Williams was a good mentor to you. And as we talked about mentors and people, and sometimes a lot of people look into HBCUs or don't even know about college. And some
Right.
of that starts right in high school where they're meeting with that guidance counselor and interacting with that counselor. And sometimes counselors can be great and wonderful people to motivate high school students, and they can push them on and say, hey, go to Tougaloo or Jackson State or Tennessee State or, whatever school you want to. But sometimes you can have an experience with a counselor that really sends you down the wrong path, or they can be telling you information that's not very helpful for you. So you talked about that a little bit in our personal conversations. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I had that experience where it was, junior, senior year, and I was ready to talk to my counselor, do exit interviews about what are my plans after high school. And so when I went in to meet with the counselor, sat down and she was like, okay, I'm looking over your grades and everything. And she said, so what do you want to do? What are your plans? So I told her, okay, well, I think I want to go to college, possibly Mississippi Valley State, possibly a junior college in the area. But I think those are my options. And she said, well, look, based off your grades, I think college isn't for you. You probably need to go to the Army. And I said, well, and there's nothing wrong with the military. There's nothing wrong with that. But I just know it wasn't for me. And I just told her, okay, we'll see. And just left out of there. And I, counselors have an impact on students. And if I didn't have the strong support system and parents and family around me, I probably would have, altered my plans and not have gone to college, and would have regretted it. Like listening to someone else whose opinion really didn't matter, who was just basically judging me, so.
Yeah. And go ahead.
In high school, for me, it was just, it wasn't exciting. It was okay. I enjoyed playing basketball, but academically, I wasn't into it. But when I went to Tougaloo and I really flourished, and I just had a high grade point average, and for a lot of people, that's that's how they are. In high school, you may not do as well, but when you get to college, you really blossom. And that was my experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you raised a good point. People can give you advice, but that doesn't necessarily mean. Mama told me something when I was in my PhD program. She said you have to learn how to distinguish between fact and fiction.
Right.
Just because somebody said, that doesn't mean that's necessarily the truth you have to accept for your own life. And I think you were right in saying that us having a great role model and in mom and our parents, mom and dad, and just them putting that before us, like there are other ways we're going to help guide you through that process is so important. But oftentimes students may not necessarily have parents or individuals to lead them, so they are looking to counselors or looking to people to give them sound advice. And sometimes these counselors are just projecting and making their own biases about people, and it was very much like that. I think in our high school as well. Who's going to succeed and who not, and we're God's children. You can't predict whether or not somebody's going to be successful based on your limited purview and not even really knowing you. So I'm glad that there was a barrier. Somebody saying that you overcame that, and I think it's inspirational because a lot of people have faced that, and a lot of students do face that as well. So I never really had I don't even think I was interacting with. I probably was in there telling them what I'm. I'm like, I'm going to do this, and this is just what it is. I probably don't even need to.
I'm sure that's how you were.
I was like that, like whatever, get out of here. You just walked out quietly. I probably would have walked out and thrown a book on the floor.
She would have definitely, yeah.
Okay. So the next question I have, so describe the culture, because a lot of people think HBCUs are all just about stepping and partying, but talk about the culture of an HBCU. Tougaloo College is a private college, private co-educational institution. And so Tougaloo has about 900 students. When I was there, it was about 900 students. I'm not sure the size now.
We were there, about 1,000. We had a little bit more, but
So talk about your experience with the culture. You talked about athletics, the people, Greek life, faith, and spirituality, academic. You mentioned classroom size, but talk about your experience in terms of the HBCU culture and the experience.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great experience for me to see so many different people, so many different Black people. people who looked like me, but they had different interests or they had same interests.
Right.
That was a culture shock in itself. Because we were used to the Mississippi Delta. I don't think I really ever interacted with people from other parts of the United States, as much. I met people from Miami. You met people from California, and it's like, wow, you from those,
The Chicago people in Tougaloo. It's a big part of Tougaloo.
And they grow up differently, but we're all, we're pretty much rooted in the same, things. But I mean, it was a great experience. It was a learning experience. I enjoyed myself. I had a blast. Athletics was fun because it was just such a, it's unique in that when you're at a basketball game or a football game or HBCU and you have everybody, you have the school pride, of course, and then you have everybody who comes to the games dressed up.
Baby, it's a show. It's a fashion show, honey.
Yeah.
And you know what? Who laid it out for so many years? That dang on Valley. Growing up, going to the homecoming parade, Tougaloo too, but nothing like a Valley homecoming and a Valley game, honey.
And tailgating and all those things, And when we would go to the Valley games, I would at football games it is. And I was excited about going and thinking I'm just gonna put on just anything. And my mom was like, no, you need to change, you need to be clean. And she was dressed to the nine and we were too, so it was a wonderful experience. What was your experience like?
Well, like it took, I think I had so much fun in high school. Shout out to the class of 99. I had so much fun in high school. Making nine, that's what we call ourselves, the badass class of 1999. I just had so much fun in high school. And so I was like, college, I think I'm going to Tougaloo. I don't want to go. So I think a lot of that was kind of like shaped my initial experience. Like, I don't want to be at Tougaloo anyway. I want to go to USM, but I'm here. But of course, obviously being with you is great. But I just think that, I don't know. I just feel like I didn't do a lot of stuff, like in terms of, I went to the basketball games and stuff like that. Right. And it was fun. I was a cheerleader probably for one semester. And then I felt like these practices are going too long. I got to study. I'm not here for this. So I think I dropped off the cheerleader team and, other activities. We did Greek life. We're both Deltas. We pledged Gamma Psi. You're fall 97. I'm fall 2000. But I think because Nika, you played basketball in Tougaloo. You actually came back to Tougaloo and were the women's head basketball coach at Tougaloo.
Yeah, for one full year.
Cheerleader once semester.
Right, but I enjoyed the experience because I was involved in everything. Not only was I involved on the basketball, with sports, with athletics, but just being involved with intramural sports, that's another aspect of HBCU, of the part of the culture, because you have those athletes who probably were athletes in high school, but didn't get scholarships, but they're really good and they participate in intramural sports. And it's just a fun atmosphere because that's a whole nother, those other games and excitement in itself. So, I enjoyed that, that was fun.
I'm listening to you. Sounds fun. I'm like, what was I?
Oh, it's so fun. It really is. It's so fun. It's so exciting. Yeah. And, Greek life, of course. Yeah. That's always great. And the battles between the sororities and fraternities and, hearing about who got off the yard,
who got kicked out the yard.
Kicked out the yard, all these things. So it was fun,
Toward the end, What's Up Wednesdays. But, one thing I really appreciated about Tougaloo, and even looking at your class, the people who were in your class, looking at some of the people who were a little bit before you guys, Tougaloo produces nothing but excellence. When you think about the lawyers and doctors in the state of Mississippi, 50% are Tougaloo College graduates. I look when I'm on the group chat with my friends, everybody's a lawyer, a doctor, or somebody like that. And then if you're not that, or an educator, if you're not that, that doesn't mean that you are, but you're still excellent. But I'm saying there's a high standard. And I can just remember looking at the beautiful women and men across campus and just like, this is going to be somebody's medical doctor. Those Kishlo kids and how hard they would be studying. I was an English major. you were a hyper major, and everybody, regardless of major, was really, burning the midnight oil and really studying because we knew the standard that is Tougaloo, and the convocations were always so well. Nothing like a Tougaloo College commencement with the
Right.
African drums. How beautiful
Yeah.
that is!
And the
Just
hanging moss.
yes, the hanging moss is such a
Uh-huh.
spiritual experience, and the civil rights lineage of our institution. It's just giving
Right.
me pride just thinking about it now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a blessing. And then just, I remember, going into the caf, and just that whole culture of being in the cafeteria on Wednesdays, everybody gathers, and then, people go to class. I'm not
Right.
like folks just hanging around, everybody
Yeah.
was studious. I felt like it
Well,
Tougaloo. Everybody's studious.
I think it was a high standard across the board in
Yes.
every aspect of, if we went and we were doing intramural sports, the people who were over there expected us to behave a certain way if we went to visit other schools. If we were on campus, or if we had to represent Tougaloo College, outside of the university or outside of the college, we were expected to be a certain way. We had
Right.
to, for instance, when I was in class and we had to go and do hours at a local middle school, Miss Williams, Mama Williams would take us down there. She would say, everybody get in your cars, meet up here. But before you show up, make sure your shoes are tied, make sure you're neat, and make sure you're representing not only Tougaloo College, but yourselves and the professional that you want to be. Make sure you're representing yourself well. And so that always stuck with me, make sure that you're looking, a certain way. But like I said, I think it was just a high standard across the board. And
high standard.
Our graduations at HBCUs compared to nothing like it. I mean,
Girl, you be halfway asleep at another graduation and then wake up like, oh, y'all just called my name. Right.
Yeah, it's boring. But I mean, the drums that are, how we had those drums, and it's just amazing. Like you said, spiritual.
Yes.
And it's one of a kind. And then to see the faculty and the staff walk in and all that kind of stuff, And when I was, as an HBCU faculty member, that's fun, because I'm like, oh yeah, I know we're important. That's my message.
Right. Yeah. And you having worked at an HBCU as a faculty member, me also, we can see that experience differently. And I was an SREB scholar, Southern Regional Education Board. And oftentimes they would tell us and drill into our heads, like, you may be the only Black faculty that a student has ever interacted with during their whole educational trajectory, because you literally can go through your elementary and preschool, all those experiences, well through college and graduate school, and it's not right. But a student of color can actually have an experience that is completely all white, where they see no diversity in educators. So not only were we graduates of HBCUs, we're also leading and shaping the classroom and influencing students as HBCU faculty. So, that's equally important as well. And I would encourage people to, get your education. And if you want to teach, and there'll be a separate conversation, we'll have to come back on your channel and talk about education and all that and teaching. So let's talk about faith and spirituality. We're people of faith. We're Christians, and that's something important. That's very important to us. We grew up in small town Mississippi and attended our whole lives Friendship Missionary Baptist Church, where we had a really solid foundation. Our mom was a youth leader for about 10 years, and we're really always heavily involved within church growing up. And so, why is that important to the HBCU culture, whether it's Tougaloo or Jackson State Howard, or even Clark Atlanta? There's going to be some emphasis that brings the attention back to focusing on God and Christ. Why do you think that's so important? And how does that help to sustain students and faculty members who are attending, these colleges and universities?
Well, I think in a lot of ways, the atmosphere, the spiritual atmosphere that they had at HBCUs, that they have at HBCUs, is much like what we experience at home. So they're just trying to make sure that there's like a smooth transition. And just because you're an undergrad and you're away from home, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to, fall off with your religion and, not
Your
go to church. Your values. Yeah, right. So, I mean, I think, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Well, I was gonna say it's important because it made me think about Tougaloo College. I don't think I ever went to. Oh, I remember going to convocations. I don't know if I was going to church as much because I don't think I had transportation. Probably my senior year, but I definitely remember Chap, Reverend Johnson. Yeah, right.
Oh,
He in chaplain was always, and everybody called him Chap, but he was always on campus. His presence was always around. And even just not just the faith and spirituality part, you open and close any meeting at Tougaloo with some prayer. You're gonna open and close prayer just like you're at your home church or as you do in your home, like you said, in your household. But also the choirs, at those different events, those beautiful HBCU choirs, the gospel choirs, the concert choirs, and traveling around to different universities and having other HBCU choirs come to Tougaloo. So all this stuff was important. So if you didn't necessarily have the opportunity to go to church, because maybe transportation, like I didn't have a car, you can still go to a Wednesday service or go to a convocation or go to an event and still, feel a sense of faith and be drawn in to the spirit. So that was
right. Yeah, I thought that was important. And we redid at Tougaloo College. We redid our chapel. Remember the chapel? And it was beautiful, and it had the
beautiful.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Beautiful.
Woodworth Chapel.
Woodworth.
Well, what about academics? So you talked about Miss Williams and her influence on you as a mentor. So tell me about your experience getting an education degree from Tougaloo College.
Well, we had a department chair, and who was like a drill sergeant,
Oh. Okay.
And Dr. Anderson, and
okay.
yeah, but she pushed us. She didn't accept any excuses. She just wanted to make sure that we were our best and we represented ourselves well. Once we left the university, once we left college, and so I appreciate it all. I remember going to classes with Dr. Anderson. I remember attending classes with Miss Norma Williams, Coach Coleman, James Coleman, and Dr. Galloway, who's since passed away. But they were really, really, really great teachers, mentors, and Coach Turner as well. I'm sorry, James Turner. And they really gave us some good sound advice about life in the profession and just how to be, and what we were going to be up against as African Americans coming out,
I think it's so important when you talk about that because what I've heard you say is that you just didn't get an academic education. You also got like a cultural education and like a Black connection where people are like telling you, hey, this is what you're going to face as an African American woman or could potentially face. And sometimes my students, because I'm like that in my approach when I teach my students, I no longer work in an HBCU, but definitely in particular when I interact with African American students, I sometimes have to pull back because I'm like, listen, we need to have a conversation about where we are and the context of America. We are Black in America, because some students just come to college and they're just like, nobody has told them. No one has had that conversation with them as young African American women. No one has had that conversation with them as young African American men in certain spaces. And I do think to whom much is given, much is required. It comes with us as educators a responsibility to educate other people and to do it in a way that's relatable to them, not like that Monique way, like girl don't do, but in a way that makes sense to them. You know what I mean? Where you're not coming down on them so hard, like, perhaps your chair, but you're also giving it to them like, this is information for you to consider. Now do with it what you will, because a lot of times young folks trying to hear everything you got to say. So, but also letting your life be an example. And I often tell you, that I do think your life is an example. You work well with children. You're a great educator. I learned so much from you. It's great having a big sister who's an educator, because I'm like, hey, what do I do here? Because I don't know, how do I manage this aspect of the classroom? And you've been able to inform me and share, knowledge and insight. So, we got that foundation from our HBCUs, of course, but as we both know, that foundation came from home first.
From mama,
From mama. Yeah, from mama. A large part of that came from our mother.
When I was at Tougaloo, and I was I didn't know what area I wanted to go into. And she said, go to teaching. That's what you're going to do. Like, Mama, that's not what I want to do. She said, you're going to be a teacher. And that's what you're going to do. And that's it. And so, and then she broke it down and gave me so many different, pointers on, or things, attributes to teaching, what the benefits of teaching and, how I would be successful. And she said, once you come out of college, you'll have your teaching degree and you'll be able to walk right into the classroom, and go from there. And sure enough, that was my experience,
Yeah, and and I remember I wanted to go to law school, and God didn't have that plan for me. I write about it in the She devotional that we have to follow the plan that God has for us because we're trying to open the door. I was trying to pull that door open to go to law school ever since I was in college, and I was so disappointed my senior year when I did get us in because I'm like I want to do this, God. This is I'm passionate about civil rights and social justice issues. We're from where the county where Emmett Till, right, was slain, right, murder. So social justice is always something that's on the forefront and that's very important to us. So I wanted to be a lawyer. And I remember crying on the phone with Mom because at this point, Mom had retired from her job as a teacher for 36 years. So she was at home. So I could call her during the day. And I was like, Mom, I'm such a failure. I don't know what I'm going to do. And she was like, baby, you're never a failure. You're not a failure. She said, but what you need to always have a plan A, B, C, and D. And that's true. I always have a contingency plan. And so she, she walked with me and would sit there and listen to me. And I wanted to feel like she was laughing at me probably a little bit because I was so serious about it in my cry. But she knew that I was going to be okay. But she spoke those words of wisdom and also, talking about teaching. You can always get make sure you get a license, make sure you do this so you can always have a job because teaching is stable. And guess what? In this pandemic, teaching is stable.
Teaching is stable.
Teaching is stable. Yeah, it really is.
And she gave us some good advice, good sound advice on our careers. A lot of people don't have,
No.
A lot of people don't have.
No, and definitely Dad was a big part of our lives too because who hauled us down to Tougaloo with all of our moving in, and I can just remember on our truck our parents took us to college and that's a blessing because I see so many students just go to college, they don't have mom and dad with them. That's a blessing like your parents to move you into college. And Nika, you're seeing college students all day. You work with a lot of athletes. These kids just show up to college. They ain't got no mom and dad is with them a lot of times.
Parents can't afford it, so they send their kids on the flight, and they're just hoping that they can communicate with somebody. Wishing for the best. Please take care of my son, or my daughter while I'm away, and they send the kids there, to college, and that's it.
And HBCUs do love on their babies, and so that's a good part about it because they are nurturing. Clark Atlanta was very nurturing to me. I think about all of my classmates from Clark, and God was just really setting me up because I was in my master's program as a little 22-year-old baby with PhD students, and I would just sit there quiet, and I'm not a quiet person, and they would just be talking. And I was like, these people are talking over my head, and I don't know what the hell they're talking about. This Africana women, this feminist, I don't know what they're talking about, but I learned so much from them, and they were nurturing, and they saw that, and they took me in. And I think that's what you're sharing, that the experience is just very nurturing. So that even if people don't have a dad to come and help move it or help do in that way, there are parents to the college is going to pick up the slack and help them out and push you to graduate. That's what I'm talking about. Push me to graduate. Push my child to get on out if he or she needs a boost. And I know you do it as a faculty member as well.
Oh, absolutely. I've had students from, Jamaica, Barbados, all over the place. And unfortunately, they were first generation, college students, and they had to work as well as work as athletes and be full-time students, and they had to try to get some money from somewhere to send back home to their families. So, and the families weren't able to come and see them off to college and do all those things that, some of us experience. So, we have
privilege going on, I feel like. We have to acknowledge that. We talk about that all the time. Acknowledge that, privilege does exist in like you said, there's such a diversity in people's experience, and everyone, not that we're by no stretch of the means rich or anything like that, but it's a level of privilege there when you do have, an uncle who's a provost at a university, or somebody else you can call, or we just going to make some phone calls around here. But we had to work for everything we have. But I think we do have and have had access in a certain way that other people may not have had.
We grew up. You know how you hear about some families and some people teach their kids, drill in their heads, you're going to this university, you're going to college, you're going to college. And a lot of people, don't have that experience, but we had that experience. It was drilled in our head we were going to college. It was drilled in our head. It was
never thought that we weren't.
Either Tougaloo or Mississippi Valley State. Either one.
You're going to college, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to college, right.
Yeah, you're going to college. And like for some, like you're saying, like some people, they never thought or conceived, but like from Yay High, we just knew, like, what are you talking about? And not only just college, a private college.
Right, yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah. So what about being a Delta? Ooh! Because a lot of people want to know about the Greek life.
Yeah.
Child, it was hard. I almost didn't make it. That oop, I almost didn't come out. Got to practice on it.
You know what? It was a blessing that I was there, and to help, help the
right.
God. Yeah.
God. My sister and I were Delta debutantes, and shout out to the Greenwood Itabena alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated in Greenwood, Mississippi. But that alumni chapter when we were in high school was just awesome. Nothing but ladies. I feel like our high school awesome.
We were involved. They had us doing all kinds of things. We were Delta debutantes. Yeah, they were very involved.
I had this book in my head that I'm going to write, and when I write it, the chapter I'm going to dedicate, one of the chapters, is to the Greenwood Itabena alumni chapter, because they're Delta debutante, all that stuff they used to do. It was just a beautiful experience for us. You were a Delta debutante in class in '98. And so in high school, we were Delta debutantes. They had a debutante cotillion. They call it Jabberwock in some other states. Right. It's called Jabberwock now, but it's been going for a long time. But it was just a beautiful experience to be able to, do community service, meet other young women your same age, to just really talk about education and have speakers come in. That was a beautiful experience for me to experience in high school. But there were other sororities. There was always, because Valley was right down the street from where we lived, I feel like there was always an influence of you seeing these different Greek organizations around. Maybe not necessarily for me, not knowing what that meant in particular, because I think I didn't really understand, have a full awareness of what Greek life was, but it was around and we could see it because you could do high school days. So we were around college. We grew up in kind of like almost in a college town.
Being involved in Delta as a Delta debutante and his Jabberwock and all those activities really gave us insight into the sorority, and what the women were doing and why they were doing it. And, it's just again, they were mentors in a sense, and they were, showed us how to be. They were professionals, they were
teachers, educators. Right.
Yeah. Right.
Beautiful experience. Just a beautiful experience. And then not only that, they stayed in touch, after college and helped us, through the process of becoming members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, which I'm definitely grateful for. And so, love, shout out to the sorors everywhere. And, so, hey, this is our conversation on HBCU Excellence. We talked about faith and spirituality, the culture, the games, the athletics, the beautiful part of Greek life, just the mentorship and the conversations and the family support that you get from attending in HBCU. So if you are out there thinking whether or not you send your child to an HBCU, I know there's a wave now, influx, because of the social unrest that's going on in our society, where people are saying, I'm sending my child to HBCU. That's a great decision. But I would encourage you, just personally, go check the HBCU out. Look at the campus. See if that's where you want to be. So HBCUs are not a one size fit all. You have to make sure that it fits for you. You may be more geared to a public HBCU, whereas we attended a private HBCU. So do your research. Go meet with the counselors. Meet with some of the faculty. Take your kids on campus. Take pictures and have fun, because it's about the community. It's about the culture there. So, Kanika, what insights would you share with parents and students who are thinking about attending an HBCU?
Just to piggyback off everything you said, seek out your local HBCUs in your city, and just figure out if that's the place for you, for your child, whether it's private or public. it was a great atmosphere, as we touched on, and it's a great academically sound universities, and it's just good. Your kids will be taken care of. So, but just make sure that you do your research, do your due diligence, make sure you do your research, and make sure that you find the right institution for you.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Well, soon to be Dr. Sharp. We speak that into existence. I have so enjoyed this conversation with you, talking about HBCU Excellence. You are HBCU Excellence, and I want to encourage you to continue doing what you are doing. You make us proud here in this community. I love you as my sister, but I love you also as my soror, and I am little sister proud of my big sister.
Well, thank you so much. I've enjoyed this platform. It's great. You should keep it up.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, you come back anytime, and we have to ask our viewers. You tell us what you want to hear again from Kanika and Shani, and we're, like I said, trying to make this into an independent platform, independent of Ask Dr. Shani, and independent of Kanika, officially Kanika, into something that where we have real conversations as sisters about various topics. But until we meet you again, give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe to Ask Dr. Shani. Follow Kanika on all social media platforms and officially Kanika. Check her out. She's a wonderful person. She does a lot of fun things. And so follow her on all her platforms. And thank you so much for tuning in. We have enjoyed you. And until the next time, be safe and be blessed.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.